can be here by 4. All you need to do is just let me know.
Sure, sure.
Because I work right over here. And
Okay,
I can help
yeah.
out. I can jump in and help out.
Sure.
I want to bring gloves so that way if the washing dishes. Yeah. But at least, you know.
Yeah, sure,
just
I'll call you.
someone just needs to-
Sure, sure. Yeah, I usually cook on Friday.
So, it must be about 15 minutes away.
Sure.
Here he is. trying to connect here. It's going around and around and around.
You can skip the slides.
What?
You can skip the slides and Zoom.
What? It's just going around.
Oh,
Okay, you do it. You do it. Govinda, Govinda, Govinda. Screen share. Do this one. Yes? Yes?
should I?
You can see?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Oh no. An unknown error occurred. What's going on? Is it? We're okay? Just click this off.
Seems like your internet connection is disconnected Wi-Fi from the computer. I don't know the reason.
Is connected?
It's connected. It stays connected, right?
Is connected.
Yeah, but then I don't know why it keeps going
Okay.
off.
Okay. Well, doesn't like me.
That's not
There's
true.
nothing new. Okay. So are we are ready to begin, or you need to do something else?
We need to make sure that you are connected back on Zoom because we lost the internet.
Look at what's that? We're good? Yes, no? No, it's not. Okay.
Again, the internet.
Internet keeps coming and going.
We can skip the slides.
What?
So they can hear you. The online devotees can hear you, but they cannot just see the slides.
Well, that's too bad. Is it other devices or the internet is coming and going?
Yeah, mine is.
Also coming and
Yes,
going?
you're right.
Who's the Ishwara of the internet? Do you know anything about that one?
मेरे फोन में से दिया है लैपटॉप में से दिया
It comes and it goes. Now it's on,
yes
but then it goes. Say it again.
You have a hotspot?
yeah right now I'm just doing from my phone the 5G yeah still
It's on right now,
Yeah.
but then it comes and it goes. All right. All right. All right. Mridanga? Give it to me. You can play? Okay. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivara Dhari 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 Jasodanandana Brajajana Danjana Sodanandana Brajajana Jasodanandana Brajajana Danjana Sodanandana Brajajana Jamuna Tira Vanachadi Natira Vanacha Jamuna Tira Vanachadi Vanacha Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari 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 Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivara Dhari 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 Jasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jasodanandana Brajajana Jamuna Tira Vanachadi Jamuna Tira Vanachadi Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Om Krishna Paramamsa Parivedikacharya Astatara Satasi Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Gaur Premanandi. Well, let's see how long the image lasts. Depends on how long the internet lasts. Bhagavad Gita, I understand that you've been discussing chapter 11, Bhagavad Gita, and I selected 3 verses from chapter 11. The universal form, Vishvarup Darshan Yoga. Both Baladev Vidyabhusan and Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur have given titles to the chapter that they're slightly different. These are indications of the titles they've given. The Lord as the universe. Nice painting. Krishna and Arjuna on the chariot, and Arjuna's asking Krishna, if you think I can see, can you show me the universal form? Krishna gives him the eyes to see. That's what the painting is. Here's an outline of the different sections of this chapter. The first section, first verses up to verse 8, Arjuna makes his request. Then Krishna gives a description of the universal form. Both Sanjaya and Arjuna combined to describe what they see, that universal form. And then this short section, 32, 33, 34. Time I am, and then the last is become my instrument, nimitta matram. Both are very important, often quoted verses or segments of verses from Gita. Very important. And Arjuna offers prayers after seeing the universal form, requesting Krishna, please withdraw this form. And then Krishna withdraws the form, indicating that only pure devotees can see his two-armed form. Very important section also. So a little background, the verse before this section, 31. Arjuna is saying, O Lord of Lords, so fierce of form, please tell me who you are. I offer my obeisances unto you, please be gracious to me. You are the primeval Lord. I want to know about you, for I do not know what your mission is. Tell me who you are, then he says who he is. The primeval Lord. So what is he? Then it's further. What you want to know about him is he wants to know his mission and further description. So it's very concise. You could say volumes and volumes. Krishna could say volumes and volumes, but he concludes just very succinctly. Time I am. So this is a BBT illustration of the universal form, and that's this feature of time. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Kalosmi. Kalosmi. Time I am. Kasya Krit Pravridho. Translation. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, time I am the great destroyer of the worlds. And I have come here to destroy all people. With the exception of you, the Pandavas, all the soldiers here on both sides will be slain. Now what's your mission? I have come here to destroy all people. Ooh. So these different features have that same, the destroyer feature, the destructive feature of time, and then of course the Kurukshetra battle, the different scenes of the Kurukshetra battle. And I want to spend a little bit of time discussing about time. There are 5 principal topics or subjects. Can I do what? What would you like me to do? I don't understand what you're asking me to do. What are you asking me to do? Are there people here that don't know Bhagavad Gita? Oh. Howdy. Okay, Bhagavad Gita background. Okay, thank you. I thought I was thinking something you're asking. Some of these cameras, they can see, make it their own background. So that's what I thought you were talking about. Can you get a different background? Anyway. Okay. Have some idea of who is Krishna? Okay, good. So Krishna comes once in a long period of time, a day of Brahma is a long period of time. And when he comes, there are three main reasons that he comes. He says in Bhagavad Gita, to restore principles of Dharma, religion, reestablished, because it gets broken over time. And to give protection to those who are pious, and to check the influence, diminish the influence, if necessary, annihilate those who are disrupting peace in the world. Restore Dharma, protect the pious, and diminish the influence and annihilate, if necessary, those who are creating disturbance in the world. Bhagavad Gita is a text that's describing those features, and is part of a big epic, big epic called Mahabharata, history of Greater India. And I'm leaning over because this plastic thing is distracting. Maybe when you can leave it, but I'm just suggesting that sometime you may want to remove the plastic thing. Just. I'm speaking to Piari. You don't need to do anything right now. Okay. Mahabharata is a big epic, and it's the good guys against the bad guys. There are persons who are vicious and murderous, and they want control of the world. And then there's the good guys, those who are virtuous by nature, and they're rightful heirs to the kingdom, and there's a tussle between the good guys and the bad guys. And so there's a lot of, in the text of Mahabharata, there's a lot of description of what is to be done, what are standards of virtue to live by, and what are the conduct of people that are averse to those who wish to live by virtue. What do they do? What are some of the characteristics of those people? So it's, stay away from that kind of misbehavior and go in the direction of virtue. So that's the context. And then Bhagavad Gita is right in the middle, literally in the middle. And the scene just before this was that there were two, the kingdoms were divided into two, and the kingdoms of the virtuous ones was built up very nicely, and the kingdom of the bad guys, the villains, was strong. And they had their allies and so forth and so on. And there was a series of events that led up to a war that was about to happen. And so the virtuous ones didn't want the battle for various reasons. They sent Krishna volunteered, I'll go as a peace ambassador, because he was cousins of both groups. and see if I can bring peace. And the conclusion of that, many things that happened, but the conclusion of that visit was the villain leader said, forget it. I can't live on the same planet with those, my cousins. There's got to be war. And many other things, very insulting, etc. They tried to kill Krishna, and right in the middle of the assembly, the warriors came charging in, and Krishna showed a partial universal form. And they were struck with awe. He withdrew the form and walked out. No peace settlement. The war is about to begin. The two armies are lined up, and Arjuna, the chief warrior amongst the virtuous ones, requests his chariot driver Krishna, who takes the role of the chariot driver of his own devotee, please draw the chariot between the two armies so I can see who's on which side. And then he has a faintness of heart. I can't do this. And he gives very virtuous reasons. 7. Because this and this and this and this and this and this. And Krishna says some strong things. He said, you're a virtuous person, and virtuous persons live by duty, and your duty is to protect. You're Kshatriya, you're a warrior. Your duty is to protect. And those people people need protection from those people. You have your duty. So back and forth. Then Arjun says, I don't know what's best. You please instruct me. So that's the setting. Big epic. And then the battle is about to begin. And right there on the battlefield is where Bhagavad Gita is discussed. It's the science of yoga systems, the science of higher consciousness, the science of the self, understanding the Supreme Self, understanding our eternal relation with the Supreme Self, how to go about that, restoring that. Lots of nice things. And just before this chapter, which is 11, is chapter 10. Arjun comes, Krishna explains, I'm the source of everything. Everything comes from me. Those who understand that become my devotees. And those who become my devotees, I give them the intelligence how they can end the cycle of birth and death and come to me in the spiritual world. Arjun goes, wow. You're the Supreme. I was treating you like a friend, and now I understand much better. You're the Supreme. I accept. Then Arjun says, can you give me many ways by which I can always think of you? So there's the many ways of thinking, and it connects with this evening's verse. So opulences, the superlativeness of whatever is in this world, that's Krishna. As opulences of this world are representations of him. They're not the fullness of him, but representations of him. And chapter 10 ends with Krishna saying, but Arjuna, what's the point of describing all these things? With but a spark of my splendor, I maintain and support the whole universe. And then chapter 11 begins, where Arjuna says, if you see me fit, can you show me your form of the universe? It's rare to be seen, but if you feel me fit, so Krishna says what he says. We did a little summary. He said, it's rare to see, but you're my devotee, you're requesting, I'll show you. I'll give you the eyes by which you can see. Here's what my universal form is. And then he displays it. And the description of that universal form is what Arjuna sees, and the one who's narrating this is Sanjaya. Sanjaya describes it, and Arjuna is trembling. It's so frightening. Please remove this form and show me your original form. So Krishna withdraws that form, shows a four-arm form, then shows a two-arm form. And said it's very rare, only my devotees can see this two-arm form standing before you like this. So in the course of Arjuna's prayers after seeing the universal form, he asked this question: what's your mission? Tell me more about yourself. So that's where this verse comes. Time I am, Kala is a Sanskrit word for time. Time I am, the great destroyer of the worlds, and that's who I am, and my mission, I've come here to destroy all people. Not all people, but all people, all the soldiers gathered on the battlefield. Because those soldiers gathered on the battlefield on the bad guy's side, he came into the world to quell their influence. So he gave them liberation. Cycle of birth and death over. Plus their harassment of people on this planet was over because they were gone. And those on the virtuous side, they were also liberated. Those who were killed in Krishna's presence. But the ones that remained to rule the earth after the Kurukshetra battle, the battle was over, were the virtuous ones, the leaders, the 5 brothers who were going to rule the world. Okay, so that's the background. And I'm going to spend some time now discussing the Vedic concept of time. Okay, so those of you that are familiar with Bhagavad Gita, you know from the introduction to Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada is following the system that a previous acharya named Baladev Vidyabhusan followed by saying there's 5 main topics in the Bhagavad Gita. And one of those 5 main topics is time. Here's the other 4. The living entity, the soul, the supreme soul, material nature, and material activity, karma. Karma, material activity, material nature, when acts in relation with the living entity that does that action, and the supreme that oversees everything. And then the other is time. So of all those 5 topics, the one that's spoken of least is time. And it's a very important and a very fascinating topic. So I'm just going to say a few things about this fascinating topic. One of the main messages of the whole Bhagavad Gita starts with understanding the soul, because there are different ideas out there about what the soul is. And if you're interested sometime, when you meet people from different backgrounds, ask them what the soul is. And you'll either have to cry or laugh, because the range of things that people might say is very broad. One of them came up in the discussion yesterday, but I won't go through what all those things, different people say different things, what the soul is. So Krishna gives a very clear explanation of what the soul is and what the soul isn't. And the soul animates matter. Say it negatively. Matter doesn't move without the presence of soul. Say it positively. Soul moves matter. The covering of the soul, this body, in the language of Bhagavad Gita is like a machine, or is a machine. And machines don't move without somebody moving the machine. Even if they have some remote control mechanism, a drone or something, it's somebody pushing buttons to move the machine. Without somebody pushing the buttons, without the soul moving matter, matter doesn't move. However, there's another factor without which matter doesn't move, and that other factor is time. The time factor, or time energy, moves matter. What's being said, what you see on the screen here, the time destroys everything. But time doesn't just destroy everything, time brings things into being. Here's a little example of how time brings things into being. The Vedic picture of the beginning of creation shows, as you see on the screen in the lower left, that's Mahavishnu. Somebody sent me a photograph of, little video of their 4-year-old boy being Mahavishnu. He was lying in their backyard with pasted on a couple extra arms, and he was reclining on an Antashesha, and he's creating universes. So Mahavishnu glances, you see from the painting here, he glances over the dormant stage, or unmanifest, undifferentiated stage of material nature, because that's another one of the 5 main topics, is material nature. So material nature has different names depending upon the state, and one of those names is pradhan, and pradhan means dormant, unmanifest in its variegatedness, like a cloud in the sky. He glances over this pradhan, and with the glance, you can see from the painting, with the glance, the living entities are carried to that material nature. Here's a detail. The arrangement for the living entities to be carried by the glance of Mahavishnu is made by the spiritual potency of Mahavishnu. The spiritual potency of Mahavishnu is a person. Her name is Rama Devi. Rama Devi, as you see in the painting, we don't see her. Why we don't see her? The answer is given. She's within Mahavishnu. Many cases we see the consort of the Supreme is manifest without. Rama Devi is the eternal spiritual potency of Mahavishnu, and she's within, enjoying with the Supreme Lord in this state called Yoga Nidra. Nidra means sleep. But his Yoga Nidra is not like our sleep. It's a transcendental interaction of loving exchange between Rama Devi and Mahavishnu. Their eternal pleasure pastimes are enjoyed within, according to the Bhagavatam teachings. When it's the desire of Mahavishnu is to give those living entities that are in a dormant, anesthetized-like state of consciousness within, he desires that they don't have this anesthetized condition. He desires that they can enjoy the fullness of their potential to enjoy. But to do that, they have to have a form to purify themselves so they can become situated in enjoyment again. So having that desire, Ichha, you'll see the word Ichha in a moment on the screen. Ichha, he desires that they could enjoy fully. Ramadevi recognizes He doesn't say anything. She knows her master. And so she takes the living entities that are resting within him and her time energy, because Rama Devi is situated in eternal time, and it's a subpotency of her. So she transforms that subpotency of her and transforms it into time as we know it. An expansion of eternal time is time as we know it, which is past, present, and future time. The time energy and the living entities are entrusted to the glance of Mahavishnu. And time energy has a very important function, because you can't have activities without time. You need souls, you need material nature, and you need time, because nothing happens without time. Time is needed for things to happen. And then there's the sanctioner. Vishnu sanctions the activities. So here's the glance you see on the screen, I hope. Yes. Kala Shakti, along with the living entities, the jivas. Those two features are carried by the glance of Mahavishnu, and the original or primordial impregnation takes place. You get the living entities that are cast into the feature of this pradhan. Kala Shakti, that's a detail. Kala Shakti, according to the commentary of our acharyas, has subdivisions. Kriya Shakti and Ichha Shakti. Now the Ichha Shakti, that's the Lord's desire. And Kriya Shakti is, he doesn't have to do anything, he just desires that things get done. And those are subdivisions of the time energy. And by his glance, living entities in Kala Shakti with these two subdivisions zoom, they contact, but just by his glance, they contact material nature, and the combination of time and the living entities in contact with material nature, the impregnation occurs, and matter becomes agitated. The karma of the living entities becomes agitated, because the karma was dormant, because time was withdrawn. When time is released, the karma becomes agitated and starts to move again. And then there's the whole sequence of so many other things that are part of the creation and subcreation, etc. But there isn't creation without time. And say it in reverse. When it's time for cosmic annihilation, it's really simple. You pull the plug. The time energy is withdrawn. And when the time energy is withdrawn, everything recedes back into an unmanifest state. A visual. When it's holiday season, like Christmas season, for example, lots of people these days put these things in front of their front lawn, like a snowman or Santa Claus or something, and they pump it full of air. I don't know how they do it. And then in the morning comes, they just pull the plug. And it's just a pile of plastic lying on the front lawn until the evening comes, and then they pump it up again. Time energy is like that. It gives, along with the living entities, it gives life to and moves matter. Time energy is very important. And once matter is up and moving, and there's the structure of the universe, then there's another known, well-known feature of time called Kala Chakra. Kala Chakra is the wheel of time. And as Kala Chakra moves, as the wheel of time moves, then the planets move. And the planets starting with the sun, because the sun gives energy to all the other planets. And the sun moves in rotation around the Kala Chakra. As Kala Chakra is moving, the sun is moving with the Kala Chakra. And anyway, it brings the changes of seasons, the changes of night and day. Kala Chakra does lots of things to keep things moving. So time energy brings things into being, time energy keeps things moving, and time energy withdraws everything. Time is a big deal for material creation. There's a way to measure and chart and give indication of the movements of time, the Kala Chakra. Sadhaputta speaks about this in his Mysteries of the Sacred Universe. Here's an image of a very ancient machine or device called an astrolabe that was used to depict what, as the sun moves, because that one that's on the very top, that arm that's at the top, it's in Latin or something, but it's the sun moving on the Kala Chakra. And as the sun moves, there's other moving pieces, and one can indicate all kinds of things that are astronomical events through the astrolabe, but it has everything to do with the movements of time. So, although Krishna is saying, my point is several points. Although Krishna is saying, time I am the destroyer of all things, he does other things besides. With his time he destroys things. With his time energy he brings things into being. With his time energy he creates, he maintains, he creates diversity and variety, and ultimately brings about destruction. So there's intervals of destruction, just like the cycle of time, that's birth and death of an individual, or in the upper planetary systems, those cycles of time are longer, and the lower planetary systems or lower life forms, they're shorter. But time moves in cycles. Time moves everything. The seasons, the years, the days of Brahma, and time moves everything. Small circles, medium circles, big circles. Time is a very important factor to keep things moving. So Krishna is answering these two: who are you and what's your mission? So his come specifically because he showed it in the universal form in earlier verses, that the soldiers on the side of the bad guys, the side of the Kauravas, were all destroyed. The universal form depicted that, or Krishna showed that. So it's already, it's a done deal. And time is separating, but it's already decided by Krishna. They're not going to leave this place. So that was 31 was his question. Now we're going to move on to 30. Then 32 was the answer. Though 33, 34, that's this evening's discussion. The very last line is one that Srila Prabhupada referred to many times, along with Kalosmi. This last line, Nimitta Matram Bhava Savyasachin. Tasmat, therefore, Tvam Utishta, stand up. Prepare, get up, prepare to fight and win glory, conquer your enemies, and enjoy a flourishing kingdom. They are already put to death by my arrangement, and you, O Savyasachi, can be but an instrument in the fight. This word nimitta, I'm not a Sanskrit scholar, but I like to learn things by taking these Sanskrit words and see how they are used in different circumstances. And what does this one mean? In creation, well, let's do this. There's a nice example of making pots. And when to make a pot, you need a potter, and you need a potter's wheel, and you need instruments for shaping the pot, and you need some clay. So the clay is the material cause, and the hands of the potter and the instrument that the potter uses and the wheel, those are in this nimitta category. Prakriti, or doing things, requires the material ingredients, and it requires the instrumental cause. The instrumental cause is the wheel. And whatever the instruments are that the potter uses. And he uses his hands, but the hands are an extension of him, and he is the instrument of the sanctioning of the Supreme Lord to make a pot. So Krishna gives the intelligence, how to make the wheel, how to make the instruments, how to turn the wheel, how to get the clay, et cetera, et cetera. Krishna supplies intelligence, and he supplies all the ingredients, and he supplies the instrument to make it all happen. He is using this phrase nimitta to Arjuna, saying, it is I who have decided. You've acknowledged in chapter 10, then again here in chapter 11, that I'm the Supreme. And I'm letting you know it's already decided. Yes, I am the Supreme. And those who are on this bad guy's side, they're not going to leave the battlefield. You don't have to do it, but you can do it. And I'm requesting you, take this position of being my instrument, nimitta, matram. And how does this apply to our lives? It's a big thing, because material consciousness is not seeing oneself as an instrument of something greater than us. Material consciousness is, I'm going to do something, whatever. I'm going to go to school and do real well in my exams. Exam time is coming up, right? I'm going to do it. Or there's a Sunday feast. I'm going to go in the kitchen and cook the Sunday feast. Or, once upon a time, this temple didn't exist. And then there was an idea to have a temple. And then there was a whole bunch of other things that happened, and here's the temple. And one can think of oneself as being the doer of any one of those things. But the right consciousness is to see ourselves as the instrument, not in material consciousness as the doer, but as the instrument. I just met this evening one of Advaita Chandra's and Krishna Priya's neighbors. Nice couple. They have a son that's in 7th grade. And he said every time he gets an anxiety about, academic pressure, he just tells him, read the Karma Yoga chapter, Bhagavad Gita. You're entitled to perform your prescribed duty, but you're not entitled to the fruits. So what do you do with the fruits? You offer to the Supreme. So build the temple, cook the offering, and do well in your exams, and offer the results unto the Supreme. Be an instrument of the Supreme and his will. And that's difference between material and spiritual consciousness. That's the message of Bhagavad Gita. This verse is in a capsule form presenting nimitta matram bhavya sabhya sachin, become my instrument. The meaning of sabyasachi, our acharyas give this explanation. One who can fight ambidextrously with either hand, his left or the right hand. So Krishna therefore encourages Arjuna, now fight with his skills without pride, because by previous arrangement, it's already set up. So the warriors are as good as dead. These images shown in the slide, there are different circumstances where the prowess and of Arjuna as an archer were already demonstrated. So he's very skilled. And now Krishna is saying, I'm the source of that skill. And I'm wanting you to become my instrument and use it on the battlefield. Here's a commentary by Baladev Vidyabhusan. I'll just read. Because of this, all these things he said, rise and fight according to your dharma, gain fame, attain rare glory. Warriors such as Bhishma, who cannot be conquered by the Devas, have already been defeated by Arjuna with ease. Such will be your fame. They have already been killed by me at the time of their offending Draupadi. They are proceeding like puppets to give you fame. Therefore, just become the instrument, O Arjuna, skillful with the left hand. Savyasachin. You are skillful at shooting arrows with your left hand. Therefore, at the time of battle, you can shoot showers of arrows with both hands. So that's 33, and then comes 34, this benediction verse. Drona, these are names of warriors on the other side. They're powerful, powerful, powerful. Drona, Bhishma, Jayadratha, Karna, and the other great warriors have already been destroyed by me. Therefore, kill them and do not be disturbed. Simply fight and you'll vanquish your enemies in battle. Now, he's not saying, don't worry because I'm going to liberate them. They'll get a good outcome. But it's true, but that's not his point of emphasis. His point of emphasis is when you have a clear indication, when we have a clear indication of what is dharma, then without hesitation and without pride and without false ego and without any of the other obstacles that find their way in life, move, go forward with execution of dharma. You're by that free will choice, there's no karma involved. Rather, a purpose that I've already decided is going to happen, you'll be glorified because you took that responsibility on my behalf. So what's the plan for us? Do you know what your plan is? Yeah. What's our plan? Well, in principle, we can say something, and saying it and carrying it in your heart is another thing, but to know who you are. I just got a nice letter from a young man who's in college, and an American friend, it's a classmate, invited, hey, let's get together and have lunch. And he thought it might be a little entangling because he knew the person was not a vegetarian. But he's been hearing me say, try to help people that are not only of Indian background, because he's a young Indian fellow, bright, really good school. So they went together. And then his friend said, can I bring 2 friends? So then it was a party of 3 friends and him. So they went to a place where devotees are selling prasadam, a little cafe kind of thing, small, quiet. So they all had prasadam. He was thinking, well, this is great. They all get prasadam. And when he was there, this is quick. He the person who was bringing the prasadam recognized, hey, how's it going? So those 2 started having a devotee conversation while the 3 friends were having their conversation. And this devotee said, I'm learning Sanskrit. So one of the 3 said, hey, Sanskrit? When I was young, this is an American kid. When I was young, I was learning some Sanskrit verses. I don't have any idea what they meant. I don't know how it happened that so just the conversation went to, I can help you understand some basic Sanskrit. In fact, I can arrange for you to get a Bhagavad Gita because it has all the verses of Bhagavad Gita and the word for word, and it's just conversation just drifted over there. And then one of the 3 said, what's it all about? What's this Bhagavad Gita thing anyways? So this young man, because he's heard me say it many times, Prabhupada said, the message is to know yourself. So that's what he said. It's so you can know yourself. And then elaborated through systems of yoga, etc., etc. That's what Bhagavad Gita is, a system of knowing yourself, self-discovery, self-realization, different nomenclature, but to know who you are. And in this bigger picture of what's material nature, what's time, what's material activity, who is the sanctioner of all of it, where does it all come from? That's included in knowing yourself. So he was really enthusiastic to get the Bhagavad Gita. So what's the plan for us? Well, to know yourself. Prabhupada's writing, every plan is made by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but he is so kind and merciful to his devotees that he wants to give the credit to his devotees who carry out his plan according to his desire. Life should therefore move in such a way that everyone acts in Krishna consciousness and understands the Supreme Personality of Godhead through the medium of a spiritual master. The plans of the Supreme Personality of Godhead are understood by his mercy, and the plans of the devotees are as good as his plans. One should follow such plans and be victorious in the struggle for existence. Nice quote, huh? That's the plan. And here's the last slide. This is Baladev Vidyabhusan's commentary. Kill Drona and others whose lifespan has already been finished by me. Do not fear, thinking, how can I alone kill these persons armed with celestial weapons? What effort is involved in killing those who have already been killed? Give up fear. Fight. You will conquer the enemies in the battle. Now, the problem with Arjuna is he's not considering them as enemies. He's considering them as relatives, his grandfather, his teacher, all who are to either to be respected or to be more, worshipped with reverence. So they're not his enemies, but as far as Krishna is concerned, they're opposed to the principles of Dharma. They're opposed to those who are upholders of the principles of Dharma, the Pandavas, the good guys, the virtuous ones. So they're enemies of Dharma in that sense. And they're to be checked. Because this effort, that effort, the other effort, so many efforts were made to curb this viciousness that they have, and to no avail. So they have to be removed. Now, the plan was that this battle took place towards the end of Krishna's stay on earth, and he didn't want that he leave with the earth being ruled by vicious rulers. He wanted virtuous rulers to rule the earth. That was his wish. That's why he appeared, to install virtuous persons in leadership roles, to restore the principles of Dharma, and to give protection to innocent people, the devotees and the brahmanas, the virtuous people. And nothing can stop when he has a plan. So that's the 3 verses that we discussed. Do we have faith in the plan of the Lord? What are the symptoms of having such faith? That's what's coming up. Let's see if there's some discussion. I see 1 hand. I see 2 hands. I see 3 hands. Mohan, Murali's pointing to you, so you take the microphone first. But you have to speak strong. You can do that.
Does Krishna plan ahead on what is happening on earth, or do things have to happen?
Help. What's he saying?
Does Krishna plan ahead on what is happening on earth, or things happen naturally?
Well, Krishna reciprocates both. Mohan, Krishna reciprocates with living entities. Right? Yeyatam mam prapadyante, as they have regard for me, I reciprocate according to their regard for me. So it may change. It may change. Once upon a time, I was in La La Land, like a lot of people. And Prabhupada came along and lifted me up. And, so my choices started to change. And I didn't have to. It's not like I was predestined that I was going to become a devotee and start, doing devotional service. It wasn't predestined. But mercy came, and I said, yes, thank you. And so things changed. So there's a combination, because the desire of living entities undergo change. And there are lots of things that influence the desire of living entities. But there's transcendental influences also. So it's a combination. Krishna is reciprocating with living entities' desires. And when it reaches a certain point like this, they're abominable. And I'm going to be leaving the planet, and I have to liberate them. So we can't liberate them. So then it was determined. Okay. Really?
So you very clearly described what Krishna's plan was in terms of the battle. His great plan was eliminating non-dharma. But then we see in the Bhagavatam, the Yudhisthira becomes bewildered about, because of so many people died, it's stolen. It goes to Bhishma Dev. And Bhishma Dev says, you can't understand the plan of the Lord.
Right.
And
And then
he includes the same thing, he says, become his instruments. But my question is, it's not always clear what the plan of the Lord or even the plan of the devotees is. And even if we want to become an instrument, sometimes we become a little bit bewildered. So you can't understand the plan of the Lord, and you might not always have the guidance from spiritual masters and devotees. So how do you proceed?
How do you make decisions when you're an imperfect being, not clear whether to turn left or right, what the right decision is? I remember writing an essay about this 30 years ago. And it goes like this. You can pause. But some circumstances, even if you pause, then in some circumstances you have to choose. Left or right, or whatever. You have to make a choice between this and that. So then you pray, you look at the lives of great souls, you introspect and consider the lives of great souls, and is there some clue in the lives of great souls? That's why it's very helpful to have knowledge of the scripture. Great souls who are confronted with something similar, and what did they do? What did they do? And essentially rely upon the intelligence that Supersoul gives. However, with that, you still may not have clarity. That's just starting those 3 points I mentioned. And you try to narrow it down to what seems to be best, but you're still not sure. So this is what I wrote in this little essay. Because you have to move, you start going a certain direction with your purpose of asking Krishna to give some indication if this is not what he wants, or that it is what he wants. And if you get some indication it's not what he wants, you're not stuck. You just withdraw, step back, and go another direction. Or it may be there was a door that you didn't see till you started going in some direction, and then there's another door. There is another option. So you stay in the mood of being dependent upon indications from Krishna. What does he want? Being completely ready to be flexible to move to something other than what you started doing when you made that decision. Now, some things, once it's done, it's done. You can't undo, but you can do course correction.
And we can have faith that if we're sincere, Krishna will correct us.
Well, he'll at least give some indication. Correct doesn't mean, he get out of the driver's seat and I'm in the driver's seat now. But he, can give us some indication how to move as his instrument instead of the wrong way, the way that he would like us to move. It's similar to what, happens here with Arjuna. Many cases, not all cases, in many cases, if one gets to that stage of bewilderment, at random, just open up Srimad Bhagavatam or Bhagavad Gita and start reading. And lo and behold, there's an answer, or at least a strong clue direction-wise. Not always, but it's magical like that. And that's the advantage of having Srila Prabhupada's association in the form of his books, and to read them regularly with an inquisitive mind. Not just an information gathering mind, but a direction in life spirit. It's there. Someone else. Yes.
What is the role
The role of
Free will.
free will.
If our lives are not predestined,
Our lives are not predestined.
something you touched on, they are predestined, but when did the shift happen?
Okay. Due to past choice, free will choices, there's going to be a reaction, a consequence of those past free will choices. We're not able to change the consequence of our past free will choices. We accept them. We can try to minimize them, or there's things to do to minimize, but it's still going to come. And the free will choice is how you're going to respond. The choice that you make in face of what's coming towards you and the path of life. So it's not exactly predestined that there's going to be X, Y, Z, because all of those things, like clouds in the sky or the weather or something, it can change very quickly. Something is going to come based upon our past, and it's very complicated and interwoven. The free will is operative in how we respond to whatever is coming our way, moment by moment. That's something that's not taken from a living entity. No one else can take it. Krishna doesn't take it. No one. It's with us. We're meeting the consequences of our past in differing degrees, depending upon, atonement for past misdeeds and so forth and so on. Increasing one's piety, maintaining stability. Persons who have, it's just some appreciation recently. We just had another Ekadasi, and coming up is Akshaya Tritiya, and people who are living according to the codes of the Vedas, they recognize these things and they do something auspicious on these auspicious days and go to pilgrimage places and hear and read and immerse. So by those transcendental pieties, it builds a stockpile of resilience and spiritual strength that other people don't have, that don't have that background or that same opportunity or training. So if one has had that training, that's a great fortune. And if one hasn't had that training, it's unfortunate, but one's life can become fortunate. And that's a free will choice. As long as there's some merciful person who can awaken in us that here's the choice. Just like Bhagavad Gita, after explaining everything, okay, Arjuna, you consider carefully and do what you feel you must do. Free will choice. Although there's a predestiny, he doesn't have to be the one. Someone else can be the one. But their demise is predestined because of their wickedness. Okay. Anything else? Okay. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.